Welcome to the UKRunChat podcast. I'm Michelle, and joining me today is someone who really embodies the idea that running can be a vehicle for much bigger stories. James Lewis is an endurance runner from the UK who's taken on a series of unconventional challenges, attempting world records, and is planning next to dribble a football all the way from Morocco to Birmingham during the World Cup. So this is a conversation about curiosity, having a bit of fun with running, resilience, and also making mistakes. James, welcome to the UK Run Chat podcast. How are you?
Well, yes, I'm actually very good, thank you. You okay?
Yeah, good, thank you. So just take us back a bit. So before these endurance challenges were your thing, really, who were you and what did running look like for you then?
So, interestingly enough, I was quite literally nobody. I was admittedly a big waste of space. I didn't do anything. I finished sixth form. I kind of just dragged my feet through sixth form. Didn't really even go to classes. I was quite overweight, not in any good shape, but I didn't train for anything. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to join the army. So then I started to train then, got into running, got decent at running, um, and then didn't get in the army. And I was like, what do I do now? Because I failed on the medical. So if it wasn't for the army, however, I would probably still be fat, not really achieving anything, not doing anything with my life, dragging my feet, as I say. But then I started to carry on the training, strength training, the running. Strength training kind of took the lead, but then I had the idea of doing a charity run. So I had only ran maybe 15 miles before, after I trained for the army. And then I saw a video of some guy talking about how he'd managed to run 24 hours straight. I think it was on a treadmill. And I just, because maybe I'm a bit delusional to some degree, but I thought I could do that, even though I'd only ran 16 miles. So I went for a run right there and then. I remember running to my usual route and popped by my missus's workplace and went and told her, I reckon I can do this. So I set up the GoFundMe, got in, no, not the Just Giving, and then the charity, St. Giles Hospice, got in touch with me because they got the notification. And then, yeah, I organised a 24-hour run around a single 400-metre track. And then, yeah, I managed that somehow. I mean, I'll rewind it a bit because to do that was quite interesting because I'd only ran for 9 weeks leading up to that.
Yeah,
So I
wow.
don't
I
know
mean,
why.
that's not a lot of preparation, really, is it? What made you think, oh, I can do this?
As I say, I've always had sort of a sense of. I think a lot of people have, to some delusional degree, a lot of belief in what they can do. But it's just the key difference is a lot of people don't actually go through with it because I honestly, but I've done some cool things with running, but I'm only one person. There are millions of people out there who don't actually tap into like what they're capable of, and I feel as though some people could outshine some of the things I've done, and they're just sat at home not doing anything because they've not even like bothered. I'm not an exceptional runner. I've just like, you know what I mean. Took the dive, and yeah. But as I say, many people out there don't realise that they're actually unbelievable, but they just haven't gone for it. But so as I say, I was delusionally confident. But sometimes in life that kind of works because if it wasn't for that sense of delusional confidence, I never would have went for it, and I never would have realised that I could do it. So in the 9 weeks leading up to it, I was doing a big run every couple of weeks, but my other runs were maybe 6 to 8 miles. But every 2 weeks on a weekend, I'd do a big run and they'd get incrementally longer. So my first one was a half marathon, and then I went straight to 20 or a marathon. But at this point, I didn't have any running shoes, so I was just running in my Nike Air Force Ones,
Oh, wow.
which was
How did they
interesting.
feel?
Terrible, terrible. Yeah, they felt horrible. So I'd run my first ever marathon in them, which was quite impressive. And then after that, I stopped going for miles as the 24-hour run wasn't a challenge of miles, it was a challenge of lasting. So I did, I think after that it was 6 hours. and I think I just maybe clocked about 30 in 6 hours. Then 2 weeks later it was 8 hours, and then 2 weeks later was 10 hours, and that was the final practice run until I inevitably, until I then eventually did the 24 hour.
Yeah. So how were you feeling after that 10-hour run? Did you think then, yeah, I can do this?
Yeah, it was quite emotional, to be honest. It was
Yeah.
only a training run, but I had some supporters there. It was on a 400-meter track, and there's like a football clubhouse there where a lot of the old timers not like to drink. Like some of the blokes that run the club and like, probably built it as well. Were just there drinking, and they were cheering me on the whole day. And
Oh,
then
that's lovely.
yeah, and they were donating money to me as well, which is lovely. I had a couple of friends um, come down and just very briefly just have a look because they all thought I was mad because I'd never done anything like this before. They all thought I was mad. And then at that point, I was maybe half an hour away to an hour away, and I was just running around this in the lap, just thinking to myself, like I actually can do this. So
Yeah, that must have been quite emotional finishing
yeah,
that.
yeah, even just for training run was a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
The real run itself really was. The real run itself, I probably cried for maybe 2 hours of the running because I was only, I think maybe 22 at the time, but I was just in so much pain. I was, yeah. At one point, my girlfriend pulled up the Just Giving page and showed me all the donations. I used that as a sort of revitalizing tactic to keep me going at the roughest part in the night, and I just had to run off from her just because, like, yeah, it was actually like making me like bawl. So because there was some really nice messages that came in the donations. So yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of donations came in as you were working your way
Yeah.
through the 24 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, so we posted a lot on Facebook, and there's a local Facebook group for our area called Rugeley Rocks, and we posted it in that, and it kind of blew up, and that's when everyone in Rugeley realised what was going on, and so a lot of people donated, liked the photos, came down and supported as well.
Oh, that's lovely. Did you have a lot of people come and help you along in person then?
Yeah, so the Rugeley Running Club didn't know until they saw it on Facebook, and then one of the ladies came down at 11 p.m. maybe. She come down and was running with me, and then she come back at 4 a.m. in the morning with loads of fruit and snack bars. She brought down her Rugeley Running Club. They were all running around with me, keeping me company. Yeah, I'd never met any of these people before in my life either.
Yeah, that's so nice. Running tends to bring out the best of people, especially when you're
Yeah,
doing big challenges like that. That's so
yeah.
nice. Yeah. What did you get out of that 24-hour run then that you perhaps weren't expecting? Talk us through some of the emotions and the feelings.
It's kind of unlocked me,
Oh,
which is might be a bit of a weird way to put it because since then I've kind of realised that I can do a lot of things I never thought possible, and running, as I say, was the key to unlocking that sort of self awareness, which is crazy to think, really.
yeah, that's incredible. Actually, you covered 92 miles, didn't you, that day?
Yeah, 92. Yeah,
Yeah. Why do you think you were so strict with yourself on the not stopping? Because it was the kind of it was the keeping going, wasn't it, over 24 hours?
yeah.
But could you have allowed yourself breaks if you'd have wanted to?
I could have, yeah, but I thought I was at that point where I was maybe 16, 18 hours in, two-thirds of the way done. It's like this could be so much better if I just didn't have a break. And that's what I want. I just wanted the better story. I just wanted the bigger accomplishment, even if no one else cared but me. Just yeah, it was just more impressive. So I thought, again, I'm delusional. I can do this. And then it
Yeah.
it, it fluked out, and nothing terrible happened. I mean, I stopped on one other occasion for an injury. I remember now. It's so long ago. I can't remember very well. I'd think I'd maybe strained something on the front of my lower shin on the front of my foot, and from then I had to kind of hobble it the whole way. I had my girlfriend one side and a friend the other side, holding arms with me, carrying me across the finish line for the last hour. But yeah, that was another break that I had because we had to dress the injury.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. How did you recover afterwards? What were the kind of the 2-3 weeks after that challenge like?
Interestingly enough, 4 days later, I went on holiday. Yeah, so 4 days later, do I can't remember what I did. I think my recovery just was down. I liked to read at the time, so I was reading a lot, and I was just sat around at home just doing absolutely nothing because I had it all off work, and I was just sat around doing nothing and just relaxing. And then 4 days later, me and a friend we went and did a couple of music festivals around Albania and Italy and Malta in a spread of 3 weeks. So that was my recovery. But I
How were
do
you
remember.
feeling though? Were you managing to walk around much?
So I was hobbling. I
Yeah.
couldn't walk the next day, but this is the point I'm getting to. When I was in the airport, my head was still spinning, and I still hadn't like re-established myself. Because not only is it a taxing, such a massive tax on your body, but just mentally as well. Especially since I'm like sleep deprived, and running around in circles the whole time. Yeah, it was tough. So even when I was in the airport 4 days later, my head was still spinning. I didn't feel on earth still properly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you
and
change directions on the track, James, or did you keep going the same way round?
the same way. Yeah,
Oh, that's tough, isn't it? That's really
yeah.
tough.
You
Yeah.
might think that it'd be refreshing to go the other way, but you kind of have that habit, and it feels unnatural to start going the other way.
Yeah. That's really tough.
Yeah,
You've finished the 24-hour event. You've unlocked another level of James. So what happens then? What did you do next?
so then I realised that this was something I'm massively passionate about. So from then on, I started planning more charity events and fundraisers and challenges, and trying to level it up and trying to make it harder for myself because I loved that it raised money, but also got a lot of local attention and brought a lot of people together. And by doing so, we raised a good amount of money for the charity. So I then moved on to planning the next year. I raised £4,500 that year, and thought that this is something that is I love doing it. So from then on, I've created. It's not an official charity yet. I'm hoping to get it recognised over the next year or so, but a foundation under my dad's name, because this is the whole reason why it sort of started, because I was trying to raise money for the hospice that took care of him.
Okay.
And so next year we planned for a football tournament that ran on the football pitch inside of the same exact running track where I then attempted my next running challenge, which was, of course, another 24-hour running challenge.
This one was slightly different, was it? Was this?
Yeah, was slightly
Yeah.
different. So this this one was I announced doing it before I thoroughly looked at the rules. So this was interesting. So I thought, let's spice it up a bit. Let's do the same exact sort of setting and idea and run, but kind of switch up a bit. So I was practicing doing running around the track for long distances, but with a blindfold on.
Wow.
Yeah. And my girlfriend was coupled with me by the arms, side by side, guiding me around the track. And we'd done that a few times for an hour here, an hour there. And then one day I got a few friends down to volunteer to run with me, and tried 8 hours. So in 8 hours, when we was practicing it, we managed to cover 36 miles. And in them 36 miles, at, at the end, my girlfriend and my sister then thought curiously, I wonder what the world record is for this. And it turned out at the time it was only 72 miles.
Okay.
So it was from then I thought, that's perfect. That's next year's challenge. We're going to go for the world record for it. I planned it, announced it, and then not long before it, thought I'm going to have another look over the rules. And it was then that I realised that you can't actually be touched by anyone. So then we had to kind of create a plan of how I was going to actually run round a 400-metre track without actually seeing where I'm going. And then not only that, cover 72 miles. So then the master plan we came up with was that a volunteer would lead in front, and they would wear bells on their laces, and I would follow the ringing of bells, and I had to listen to them for 24 hours.
That's a brilliant workaround, I must say. So, why did you come up with the idea of doing it blindfolded then? Where did that
Because
come
I wanted to level up the difficulty in some way, and I
from? Yeah,
thought that was just some random idea that crossed our minds, and then we were lucky enough to realise that the world record was quite achievable, and so that's why we went for it. But honestly, it was just a random idea. We just wanted to keep the sort of same setting, same sort of challenge, because I liked the locality of it. I liked the fact it was on a single track, because then I could have a lot of people witness it rather than me running from here to
yeah,
there and nobody see it.
yeah. It's easier to manage, isn't it, when you
Yeah,
keep it
exactly.
contained? Yeah. So you did beat the world record that day, but it
Yeah,
wasn't ratified, was it? What happened
yeah.
there?
So we had a couple issues. One of the issues was the fact that the camera, we had a runner in front with bells and a runner behind, and they would wear a chest strap with a GoPro and film it. I think the rules have changed since that day, that you can't have it, you've got to have a stationary camera. But at the time, he wore it on a chest strap, and they would run behind me, but it would obviously die quite often. So we'd have to grab a phone and record the battery change and just pause. But it died a lot more times than we anticipated, and we weren't prepared for it. One of the times the batteries died really unexpectedly, because we remember that we'd had it uncharged, but someone had went into the clubhouse, unplugged it because they wanted to charge their vape instead.
I couldn't make that up, could you?
No. So there was a stage where I was off camera for like 2 minutes or so. There was one point where there was a spectator watching the football tournament that we organised, on a deck chair on the running track, and I ran into her and fell on top of her. And my mate pulled me off of her, which is physical assistance, which was against the rules. So these things only made things harder for the run, but were
Yeah.
actually against the rules. So that's why last year, 2025, we reattempted it, but with a stronger, more secure plan for filming and evidence gathering.
Yeah. And how did that go last year then?
Terribly again.
Oh dear. So what happened? Dare I
So
ask?
it was 30 degrees. We'd ran 3.5 hours, covered 13 miles, and we'd realised one of the cameras was dead, because we had a camera on each corner of the 400-metre track. So one of them was dead. It wasn't taking charge from the power bank we'd hooked up to it for whatever reason. So from then, I was faced with the option of either cancelling right there and then, because I'm 13 miles in, I haven't clocked, and I'm already battered because I'm getting almost getting sunstroke, because it was a 30-degree day, and cancel on all the volunteers for the next 21 hours, or just restart from zero and secure 3 hours worth of volunteers as I go. And I went with the latter, and it turned out to be a day of 27 and a half hours of running.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's tough.
27 and a half hours
Yeah.
of running, 30-degree heat both days. And yeah, I think that was then the most painful day of my life.
Yeah. So that would have been the longest amount of time you've run for. Is that right?
Yes. So it was 27 and a half hours. And I think in total it was maybe 92 or 95 miles covered. I almost wanted to go to 100 because I'd never done 100 before, but
Yeah.
no, I was not getting out that deck chair.
So please tell me that attempt was ratified.
No, it
No.
wasn't. Sorry, I forgot I didn't mention it. So not only did it die and stop filming, when I restarted it, upon review of the footage weeks later, it then turned out that one of them had stopped filming up to 19 hours. And that's a typical error that happens with GoPros of that model. I think it was GoPro Hero 8, where a lot of the time they only film up to 18 to 19 hours continuously. I even paid £90 for a data mining app that you plug the SD card in it, and it does a deep scan of the drive to find the lost footage. But I ended up just losing £80, £90 again. And it really is such a terrible and awkward, like unfortunate, sorry, not awkward, terrible and unfortunate series of events. But it doesn't matter because the main goal was to raise money, and that we did. So
Yeah. I was going to say you seem very calm and cool about the fact that you've run and not you've run it, you've broke the record, but you've not had it ratified. I mean, how did you process that at the time? Were you just cool with it? Were you all right?
I tend to not get so emotional or annoyed by things that
Yeah,
aren't in my control,
yeah,
because there's not really much point to getting annoyed by things out of your control. And at the end of the day, I've survived and I'm able to run again and do it again. So
yeah, yeah,
you've got two choices really, haven't you? You can get annoyed about it, but that gets you nowhere, or you can kind of just move on with it. I mean, I do intend on going back and doing it again just to get it put on my CV. So to
yeah,
speak, yeah, because it's having a world record is no easy feat, and I feel like it's like within grasping distance. So I feel like I'm going to go back and do it just so I can say I've done it, and yeah,
yeah.
but it's
So,
nothing to
what are
do.
you putting in place for next time then, and when's that happening?
It 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 does come down to it is it's expensive because you've got to get the cameras. So I had to buy a new camera for it. I'm thinking now I'm gonna have to get 4 cameras just to play it safe. One on each corner, better cameras so that they don't die. Because one of them was the new camera that filmed fine, but the other one was a bit of an older version and that struggled. So 4 cameras. Then you need 4 power banks so they stay alive the whole time. And you got to have 4 terabyte SD cards. They're about £90 each. You're looking at about £450 maybe per angle, and if you need 4 angles, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot of money. But at the end of the
big
day,
commitment, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of money. So yeah, as you said, big commitment. It's a lot of money as well. But if you think about it, people will pay tens of thousands of pounds for a university degree on their CV. I'd rather have a Guinness World Record under my belt, although it's the financial investment is a fraction of a university degree. There is a lot of obvious physical investment because it's painful, and but I feel as though it's still cheaper and it looks. I would rather have that on my CV personally. Yeah.
yeah. So, what's the actual process of going for a world record then? What do you have to do? Do you have to lay your plan out and make an application?
So they have a long list of current records, and then you apply for it. It's a long-winded process. I will be honest. I can't commend Guinness on any sort of on any level in terms of my interactions with them, because they take weeks, sometimes months to reply, which is useless when you're trying to move fast and get things planned in order. And then when you finally get a response, it's just very, very vague, very brief. It's not very helpful at all because they have such a detailed rule set for every single record. It's a lot to take in. There's a lot of questions. It's not easy to understand. And when you ask them for clarification, they're no use, no help at all, and you've had to wait 6 to 8 weeks for that. So it is hard work. And then not only is it hard work to understand the rule set, it's then hard work to gather enough evidence, because the level of evidence you need to gather is mental. So I had to have every frame of the 24 hours. I had to have on camera every second of the 24 hours, and I had to be in the camera. And then not only that, I needed 2 volunteers for every single hour to sign as a witness statement. Yeah, as well as a few other sort of boring bits, but yeah, that alone is hard enough.
Yeah, yeah. That must be pretty hard getting that number of volunteers for an
Yeah,
event of that duration.
it's tough. I had a lot of people pull out the day before as well, which was hard work. So I had to, on the day of, gather more volunteers, and then not only that, I then had to run 3 hours and then restart and then gather more volunteers while I'm running blindfolded. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
easy.
Wow. Oh well, hopefully third time. Lucky for you, James. Next time you
Yeah,
attempt that. Yeah.
fingers crossed.
I mean, it's funny because I love your attitude there, because I mean, a lot of runners struggle when their races don't go to plan. They can kind of beat
Yeah.
themselves up about it. I mean, what would you say to someone who's dealing with the disappointment after giving it everything like that?
Well, I've got two halves to that question. One you'll like, one you probably won't like. But one would be that, as I've just said, like if it's something out of your control, let's say you've done great in your build up to the run, you've done everything perfect that you're aware of, and then let's say something really unfortunate happens, like an injury. Like there's no point getting upset about it because like it was out of your control. There's no point getting angry for things out of your control because it's just going to hinder you moving forward. Because you can stop right there and then and carry on moving forward, or you can stay annoyed and stay where you are, or even go backwards and get annoyed to the point where you stop running. So one approach is more beneficial. One's only going to hinder you. So there's no point getting upset about it if it's not out of your control. Now, the other half of the answer is if there was something out of your control that you could have done something to plan for, you've made a mistake. Don't shy away from that. You're going to feel terrible because you've made a mistake. Now, if you're going to make a mistake and you don't learn from it, then it's a pointless investment, really. It was a pointless mistake to make. So if you're feeling let down by a run, I'm sorry to say it, but you sort of need to weaponize that negative emotion that's come from that, because the alternative, again, is feeling bad and not learning anything from it, and then not developing as a person, not developing as a runner.
Yeah, we learn from experience, don't we? Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
answer. Thanks, James.
Kind of see the value in that suffering. I mean, it's funny. One of my favorite movies, the villain, says one of my favorite quotes, and I hate repeating it because it's a villain, but he talks about how there can't be like, he basically just emphasizes the level of value, the level, how much value you can get from suffering. I mean, there's the German philosopher Schopenhauer who says, what does he say now? Loss really shows us the value of things. Now, if you've gone to do a marathon and you've had to pull out, you've lost out on a medal. You've lost out on that personal satisfaction, and that shows you how valuable that is. That if you didn't fail, then nothing would be as valuable. Does that make sense?
That
So
makes perfect sense. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
everyone's going to fail when it comes to running.
Yeah. Hence why is that why you set yourself such difficult challenges, do you think? I mean, you don't seem to have a problem with the running itself though, do you? Does that come naturally to you, that endurance?
I'm not too sure. I feel like an endurance thing is sort of a mental thing, because like every time I run, I get injured. Every time I run, I get injured. It's just a case of, is it worth running on the injury, or is it better to stop and recover? But I always have a goal in mind that is always more important than the pain. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because 2 weeks after that blindfolded challenge, you ran from Paris back home to the UK, didn't you? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2022, I ran the 24 hours without a break. 2023, sorry, no. Year one, I ran 24 hours, no break. Year two, I ran blindfolded. But then year three, I wanted to repeat the blindfold and get the record under my belt. But I didn't want that to be my main challenge because that's just last year. That's
Yeah.
old news now. That's not going to drive as much attention or donations to the fundraiser. So I wanted to repeat that. But my main event was I was going to fly to Paris and run home, and that was in, I think it was July 2025. Yeah, and again that was terribly painful. But again, like it was so it it was so unlocking. Again, it's made me a better person. It's made me a better runner. It's made me more aware. But it was some of the most terrible days of my life because I would be running day in day out, injured, by myself in a foreign country, no hotels, sleeping on the streets. But at the end of the day, because I'd gone through so much suffering, I would sit down at the end of the day in my hammock in a forest in France, don't know where I am, and I'd be sat there with a pack of biscuits in my hammock thinking this is one of the best feelings I've ever had in my life. And they are still some of the best memories of my life. Just sat there with something as small as a pack of biscuits. I can sit at home with a pack of biscuits in a bed that's a lot comfier than a hammock any day I want, and a lot of people do this every day, but it doesn't mean anything at that point, because it's not actually come from any investment. Like, it's not, you've not invested a lot of pain, you're not suffered for it, and people do it all the time, and they're no longer grateful for it. But I would run for 10 hours from Paris to a small town north of it, through forests, not knowing where I am, in pain, carrying a rucksack with 8-10 kilos on my back, hurting, sweating because it's so sunny, not sure where I'm going to sleep. I'm not speaking to anyone because I'm in France. There's a massive language barrier. And yeah, terrible circumstances, but it makes me much more sensitive to the smaller things. Yeah,
Yeah.
much more grateful.
How did it feel arriving home after that journey then? That's quite an epic journey to go from a different country.
Yeah, so there's two answers against that. There's one answer, again, it's sort of pleasant, and one that's sort of not pleasant. There was one where it was like, because in France it was holiday season and nowhere was open, and if I'd done my daily 30 miles and there was no hotels near me, I had to sleep where I was. So I'd string my hammock up. If there was no trees, I'd sleep under a bridge or by the side of the road. That's what life was like at that point. But that taught me how beautiful and how amazing it is to have a nice, comfy bed. So ever since then, I've had a massive, massive appreciation for just sleeping in a bed. We don't realize like how lucky we are, especially in the first world. Like, how luxurious are we? How lucky are we? But we never take a minute to realize it, and that's really taught me how fortunate I am. So that was one thing. It's made me much more grateful again for the smaller things. But then immediately upon like returning home, a day after, my body was confused, my mind was confused, and I kind of felt almost, it's a weird word to use, but bored and kind of like directionless. I was like, what do I do today? Like I've got nothing to do today. And I was almost like annoyed by that fact, because I've been running 30 miles every day with a set goal every single day. But at that point I was thinking, like, what do I do now? I was kind of like a bit lost. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny, isn't it? Are you the kind of person who's constantly on the go then? You have to be doing something.
Do you mean something greater, or do you mean something in the
Like, I
moment?
just mean, are you like a generally active person? Do you have to be constantly like can you just sit and be still? Because it seems to me like you do really enjoy putting yourself through these
It's
difficult
it's
challenges.
it's actually the opposite. It's the
Is
opposite.
it?
No,
Yeah.
I do it for the end result. I do
Yeah.
it for the end result of leveling up, developing, but also raising money and kind of building upon every single year. Because year on year, I've managed to fundraise more, and that's the goal. Year by year now, to raise more than the last.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working towards. I'm not working towards being a better runner for personal gain. I'm working towards being a better runner for the gains I just mentioned. Now, for running, I really don't like it.
Don't you? That surprises me.
No, really not a fan of it. I'm really not a fan of it. I mean, that I'll be honest. That's maybe dishonest. I don't love it nearly as much as people expect me to.
Right.
A lot of the times I'm running and I'm thinking I'm only running because I have to. Because if it wasn't for running, then again, where would I be? Like, my life is so centered on the fundraising and the health and fitness side, that if it wasn't for running, like, I don't know where I'd be, and I wouldn't be doing anything what I love like I am now. So I kind of do because I have to.
Yeah.
Like, I know I need to. That I love about it. The motion itself, many 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 bad memories.
Well, yeah, but and good ones as well. So
Yes, of course.
let's talk about the next challenge then, because that is something slightly different and bigger as well, isn't it? So you're dribbling a
Yeah.
football from Morocco to Birmingham.
So I thought, this is perfect. I'm going to run a marathon in my garden, dribbling a football. And then I realised how possible that was. Like, I didn't realise that was going to be so possible. I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult than it was. Um, Not to say it was easy, it wasn't, but I thought it was a lot more. It was a lot more manageable. Anyway, I then had the idea of maybe one day doing a running challenge with a football. And it was one night when the St. Giles Hospice, who I've been fundraising for all these years, they hosted a winter gala event, a black tie event, and invited me down. I'd never been to a place like that before. I felt like an imposter really in my suit, surrounded by all these people in bow ties, and they had a really moving evening where they discussed all the funds they'd raised and where the money actually goes, and sharing your personal stories. And at this point, that running challenge was only an idea. And then at that point, I realised that I've got the body, the health, and the mindset to go and do crazy things like this year. I wanted to do it next year. So I said, you know what, like, life moves fast. Let's do it now. I'm going to do it this summer. So right then and then, at the end of the evening, I went to the guy I liaise with called Sam at St. Giles and mentioned it to him. And he says, yeah, you know, the World Cup's on. And so at that point, I was like, you can't not do it. So now the goal is to fly to Morocco with a football, dribble it from Rabat, the capital, to Tangier in the north of Morocco, cross the Gibraltar Strait, run from the south of Spain to Calais, Calais to Dover, run it home to Birmingham, but then actually run it home. I'm titling it Africa to Birmingham. Africa, it just sounds crazy. Birmingham's a lot bigger than my small hometown, so it will get more attraction that way. But I'm going to be running it home from Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, like, what kind of scares you about this challenge? It's a big one, and what are you having to put in place to make sure it works well?
The run itself, I'm too occupied at the minute to even concern myself with the run itself, which is maybe silly because it's going to be challenging. It's going to be a logistical nightmare. But I'm more occupied right now with securing the investment for the challenge because it's going to be expensive. And so I'm hoping that I can find a company who would be willing to sponsor it. So I need a company that's going to invest in it in return for sponsorship. So I'd run in their branding. But if I don't get that, I'm going to have to pay for it myself. So if you think about paying for that, I've got to pay for. I'm going to be out of work for 10 weeks. My partner's going to come with me. She's going to be out of work for 10 weeks. She's going to drive her car, be the support vehicle, and drive with me for the whole way. But ferrying the car from ours to Morocco, that's three and a half grand already. The camera equipment to get it all filmed professionally is going to cost maybe £500. And then I want to hire someone to actually film it day by day. So to employ someone to come along with us, film every single day, edit it, post it on the day of, so I can have a daily post every single day so that people can watch online and see the challenge. And that way, hopefully, that will go viral. The calls will go viral and we'll fundraise a lot more money. And now, for a challenge as bold as this one, I feel as though it will get a lot of attention. I mean, I hope it does, but I don't see why it wouldn't, because it's such a novel idea, coupled up with the World Cup, a challenge that everyone loves a challenge. So the challenge is to get home in time for the World Cup final, and my goal is to fundraise as much money as possible for the charity. And recently enough, the charity has had to close down 9 beds. So my goal is to open them 9 beds back up because they're still sat there. They're just sat there empty because the hospice hasn't got the funding to run the staff and just keep them warm.
Yeah.
So to a big company, you're getting in return a lot of exposure. And I feel as though if I was to put my money into it, I'm only local. If I get a lot of reach on my brand through that, it's not going to serve me as well as it would do a big brand if it sells, like, for example, a sports drink or a sports clothing brand or a shoe brand. It would serve them better than me. And plus, they've got some more money than me. So
Yeah, so you're working hard on finding kind of a big sponsor at the moment. And it's interesting that's the most worrying aspect for you at the moment than the actual run. Like, yeah, that's...
Yeah, because as I say, there's a lot. It'd be a good investment for a company to sponsor this because they'd be front and center of what's going to be a viral challenge. And I expect it to get a lot of media attention. I expect it to even make it onto the television for the BBC, the World Cup broadcasting. Now they can put in a donation that will cover the funding of the event, enable it, but also a surplus so that they still get a great return on investment, but then the charity just makes loads of money.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and that's what it all comes down to, really. So,
yeah. So you're aiming to get those 9 beds back up and working for it's St Giles Hospice. Just tell us a little bit more about the charity then, just to finish, and hopefully people can have a look
yes.
online and support you.
So it's based in Lichfield and in Staffordshire, where I'm from. But as I say, they've had to cut the ward down 9 beds because they just don't have the funding. I didn't realise. I believe it's 10 million that they have to fundraise each year to keep the hospice open. Now, for a charity, that's difficult.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's very difficult. Now, I'm sure they get a quarter of that funded by the NHS, which means they have to make up just under 8 million each year. Now, that's hard work. So hopefully, if a challenge like this blows up and I can, like, with the internet, you never know what can happen, but anything can. So you could even fundraise enough money with the right brand to sponsor and enable the challenge. You can raise hundreds of thousands of pounds, and you could open back them 9 beds, because it is sad to think that they're just sat open in a ward, just cold, unused, because the hospice just can't afford to run them, when there's such a long list of people and families, even young children, that are on a list to get into a hospice like this and to use those beds. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, all the very best of luck with your challenge then, James. So where can people follow you and just follow kind of your training for it and the journey itself?
So you can find on my personal Instagram, xjameslewis.
Yeah, brilliant. And we'll pop a link to the charity as well in the show notes so people can have a look at that as
It's
well.
amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much, James, for joining us today. That's been an incredible conversation, and thanks for being so open and honest about the highs and the mistakes as well, the reality behind all those challenges. So we wish you all the very best. For anyone listening, we'll link to James's account and the upcoming Africa to Birmingham football run and ways that you can follow and support his journey in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a running friend, leave us a review and keep the conversation going. James, best of luck. We'll be watching closely. Thank you for listening to the UK Run Chat podcast. We'll see you next time.